Why does the world trust a piece of paper printed by a government that's $34 trillion in debt? I'm Sean, and today we're decoding why the world trusts the US dollar, despite $34 trillion debt. Let's get into it. The dollar is used in nearly 90% of all foreign exchange transactions, far more than the US economy's share. How can a currency so indebted be so dominant? A reserve currency is one that central banks and governments hold in large quantities for international trade and as a store of value. The dollar makes up about 59% of global foreign exchange reserves. That's down from over 70% in 2000, but still far ahead of any competitor. Before the dollar, the British pound was the world's reserve currency, and before that, the Dutch guler. After World War II, the US held most of the world's gold and had a strong economy. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement made the dollar the central reserve currency, pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. Other currencies were pegged to the dollar. This system worked until 1971, when President Nixon ended dollar-gold convertibility, the Nixon shock. Many predicted the dollar would collapse, but it didn't. Why? Because trust had already shifted to the dollar in the US economy. Being the reserve currency gives the US what French finance minister Valéry Giscard d'Estaing called an exorbitant privilege. The US can borrow at lower interest rates because global demand for dollars is high. It can impose powerful financial sanctions by cutting countries off from the dollar system, and it earns seigniorage, the profit from printing money that holds value worldwide. For example, an Indian company buying oil from Saudi Arabia pays in dollars, even though neither country uses the dollar domestically. So why does trust persist? First, the rule of law. The US has stable legal institutions that protect property rights. Second, deep capital markets. US Treasury bonds are the most liquid and safe assets in the world. Third, network effects. Everyone uses dollars because everyone else uses dollars. Fourth, military stability. The US military guarantees global trade routes and the security of allies. These factors create a self-reinforcing cycle. Even after the 2008 financial crisis and the 2011 debt ceiling drama, investors still fled to the dollar as a safe haven. But the dollar faces challenges. Some argue de-dollarization is accelerating. China has developed the cross-border interbank payment system, CIPS, as an alternative to SWIFT. BRICS nations have discussed creating a common currency, though critics point out they have conflicting interests. US sanctions have been weaponized, pushing countries like Russia and Iran to seek alternatives. The US debt, now over $34 trillion, raises concerns about fiscal sustainability. However, many economists argue that de-dollarization is slow and reversible, and that sanctions actually increase dollar use by forcing compliance. Could anything replace the dollar? Gold has a limited supply and isn't practical for daily trade. Digital currencies like Bitcoin are too volatile. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, are being explored, but none have global reach. A multipolar system with the euro, Yuan, and others is possible. But the yuan is not freely convertible, and the eurozone lacks a unified fiscal policy. For now, no alternative offers the same combination of liquidity, stability, and trust. So what's the outlook? The dollar will likely remain the dominant reserve currency for decades, but its share will gradually erode as the world becomes more multipolar. The key is trust, and that takes time to build and even longer to lose. As long as the US maintains rule of law, deep markets, and stability, the dollar's position is secure. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of trust, hit subscribe for more economics explained. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more deep dives into the people and money shaping our world. See you in the next one!